Hey guys, Sarah Halina here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Only Murders in the Building, so stay tuned. Alright, so first I'm going to be going into my non-spoiler thoughts, so that way if you haven't seen the show, maybe on the fence about it, you can hear what I thought without getting spoiled, and then I'm going to dive into spoilers. There's timestamps in the description down below, so you can just skip to whatever part you want. All right. So, Only Murders in the Building is a mystery show that follows three strangers who don't have much in common other than the fact that they live in a ritzy apartment building and share an obsession with a true crime podcast. So naturally, after a murder takes place in their apartment building, they decide to create their own true crime podcast as they attempt to figure out exactly what happened. Now, if you love murder mysteries, this show is one that I would definitely check out. It is rather enjoyable. It delivers plenty of twists and turns and everything. But I would be warned that there is a lot of swearing in this show. So if, that's something that bothers you, then maybe skip the show. Because there's a lot of swearing, in particular the F-bomb. So, yeah. The cast is amazing. In particular, the trio of Steve Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. I wasn't sure how well these three would work together, but I was pleasantly surprised that they really gelled really well together on screen. So, that was a nice surprise. Okay, now I'm going to be diving into spoilers, including revealing major plot details. So, if you haven't seen the show yet, go watch it. Come back here. Yeah. As for what I loved about this show. So, I love that each episode was structured as an episode of their podcast. It really allowed for, each episode to sort of end on a cliffhanger and, slowly reveal new clues. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. I love the fact that we got, details sprinkled throughout. We learned that Charles' story that he told to Mabel was a plot in his show, planting the seeds that maybe he's not to be trusted. We also learned that despite Mabel telling Charles and Oliver that Tim Kono, the guy who died, was a stranger, she had in fact known him since they were kids, and they were best friends. So, it's a little suspicious there, but also we flash forward in the end of the first episode to I think it's something like 2 months into the future, and Mabel's kneeling over a dead body, and that on top of the fact that she's lying about not knowing Tim at all kind of makes Mabel look really suspicious. Yeah, and of course it's all cleared up. But I love that we started with these characters that were really kind of sketchy. They weren't exactly open and trustworthy characters to start with. So, it really made things really interesting to have that. Another thing that I loved was, for me personally, I didn't know how many episodes were in the first season. I didn't really do much looking into this show before it aired, so I was unaware of how many episodes were in the first season. And so when the Demases were accused and arrested for the murder of Tim, I thought that was the end of the season. And yeah, it made sense. These guys did it. Their reasoning made sense. All for it. But then I was pleasantly surprised that there were more episodes and, things weren't adding up with the Demases, and that it was somebody else who murdered Tim. I think that was a really interesting twist and a lot of fun, but I mean, it wouldn't have played out as well if I knew how many episodes were in the season. Yeah. Now, those last 2 episodes where the pieces start falling into place were brilliant. Like, not really like the whole of the last 2 episodes, but like the end of the penultimate episode and then the finale were just a lot of fun. Like, at the end of the penultimate episode, Charles is at his girlfriend Jan's concert where she is playing the bassoon, and he discovers that Jan lied to him, saying that she was first chair when in fact she wasn't. And while all that is happening, Oliver and Mabel find a bassoon cleaner in Tim's possessions, kind of like lining this up for a collision course. Like, why would Tim have a bassoon cleaner? And Jan is looking very, very sketchy. Yeah, I mean, the reveal that Jan killed Tim because he broke up with her was unexpected while being completely obvious at the same time, if that makes, like, any sense. Like, I was suspecting Jan a lot, especially when she started, like, inserting herself into the case and everything like that, and insisting that the guy with the cat had to be the killer. I was like, okay, there's something off here. But, like, I didn't necessarily expect the fact that she killed Tim because they were in a relationship. Like, that kind of came out of nowhere. I do like, though, that, like, Oliver and Mabel, they go to Charles and they're like, here's our theory, here's why Jan is the killer. And Charles is like, no. Jan is not the killer. And they leave him alone, but Charles does realize that Jan was the killer, and, that she poisoned Tim's drink. So he's not drinking the drink that she made for him. And he just, like, outright accuses her. Like, it's like, I'm taking stage sips. Like, you poisoned my drink. I'm not falling for it. I'm not getting poisoned today. And then she reveals that she poisoned the handkerchief that she gave to him for his bloody nose. Like, it was like, oh my goodness, what is happening right now? Like, this woman is crazy. Amy Ryan, who plays Jan, she acted the hell out of those scenes, honestly. Like, the way that she was able to just flip the switch and go from being, sweet girlfriend who's, looking after Charles and his bloody nose and everything like that, to just, like, complete psychopathic killer was just amazing to watch. Like, it was crazy. It was insane. But the reveal of who the killer is brings me into things that I didn't like. Okay, so Jan being the killer, yes, she was suspicious. Yes, I was suspecting her. But overall, it didn't make much sense. Like, when you look at what was happening the rest of the season, like, Jan being the killer doesn't make sense. Because the vibe that I was getting from Detective Williams was that she had to be, very discreet. She anonymously sent Tim's phone to the trio because someone in the department didn't want to dig deeper. Her hands were tied. Like, someone in the department was like, this is a suicide. And that is what we are ruling it as. And, like, she sent the phone to them because she knew that her hands were tied. She couldn't do anything about it. But she knew that they would eventually figure out what really happened. But just the idea that someone in the police station didn't want this investigation going further. Like, they wanted it ruled a suicide, and they were like, that's the end of the story. Like, Jan doesn't seem like she has a whole lot of influence, especially in the police department. To me, the Demases seem like they could have, potentially had more influence than Jan did. But I mean, Mabel does say at the end, like, it does seem like there's still, like, loose ends about this case. So, maybe Jan had an accomplice, a crazy super fan, somewhere, to maybe solve these loose threads. I don't know. But, another thing that I didn't like, and I talked about it a little bit in the non-spoiler section, was the swearing. Now, I don't mind shows swearing. Like, I don't mind it at all. Like, by all means, swear away. Like, as long as you are properly, rated, like, mature audience and stuff like that, I'm fine with it. Go for it. Knock yourselves out. But it has to feel organic. And a lot of times in this show, it did not feel organic at all. Like, not only was there, like, a whole lot of it, but, like, it was a lot of times very, very cringy to hear these characters just swearing randomly. And it's like, that doesn't even, like, roll off the tongue. Like, it was just odd. To me, a lot of the cringe comes from, like, Detective Williams and her swearing, because, like, she swears when she's in the house with her wife, and that I was fine with. Like, you're in your house, you're talking to your wife, you're both adults, that makes sense to me. Like, but she does a lot of swearing on the job in front of civilians. Like, she literally, like, calls the trio, like, mother effing numbnuts, essentially. And it's like, okay. Like, it was just really weird. But it's not just Detective Williams where it feels, like, really cringe. Like, Mabel has scenes where, like, she's swearing and it doesn't make sense. Like, and it's just, why? Like, you can have swear words in a show and literally have it feel organic. Have it roll off the tongue. Like, it felt like the writers were just, like, sitting in the writer's room and said, well, we're allowed to swear, so let's make every line of dialogue drop an F-bomb or some other swear word. Like, it doesn't have to sound normal. We can just do it because we can. Now, of course, the every line of dialogue part was an exaggeration on my part. But there is quite a bit of swearing, and a whole lot of it does not sound organic at all. So yeah, that kind of bothered me a little bit. Now, in terms of the setup for season 2, so Charles, Oliver, Mabel, they're all toasting their success. They figured out that Jan was the killer, and their podcast is a success. And then Mabel says she's going to go back to her apartment to get more champagne. And then Oliver and Charles get a text from a number that they don't recognize saying, get out. Like, get out of the building. So they run to get Mabel, and they see that she is kneeling over this body who is wearing a tie-dye shirt. Now, tie-dye shirt guy was a friend. More than a friend to Mabel. So it's like, oh my gosh, like, is he dead? No, it's Bunny, the lead board member of the building. Like, okay, so Mabel's kneeling over dead Bunny, who is wearing an Only Murders in the Building official license, I guess, sweatshirt. Like, she notoriously hates this podcast. Like, she hates the three of them digging into Tim Kono's murder. Like, they're just bringing havoc in her life. So, why is she wearing a sweatshirt with Only Murders in the Building? I don't know. Yeah, but Mabel tells Charles and Oliver, like, it's not what you think. I just opened the door and she stumbled in on me. Now, Bunny has also been stabbed with Mabel's knitting needle. So, that's not looking too good. Anyways, then SWAT busts down the door, arrests Mabel, Charles, and Oliver. And Cinda Canning, who is the host of a true crime podcast called All Is Not Okay in Oklahoma, and her assistant say that this is interesting. Coming this fall, only murderers in the building. So, like, is this what season 2 is going to be? Is season 2 going to be like Cinda creating the podcast while Mabel, Charles, and Oliver have to work to prove their innocence? Like, because I feel like it would be a whole lot more interesting to leave Cinda out of it completely and have Mabel, Charles, and Oliver go on this journey to figure out the truth behind who killed Bunny. And potentially also answer why she was wearing, the official tie-dye sweatshirt for Only Murders in the Building when she hated the podcast. Now, obviously, they probably wouldn't legally be able to create a podcast having, been prime suspects in Bunny's murder, but it doesn't need to be in the format of a podcast. Like, it could be a good old-fashioned murder mystery. I think that'd be a lot more interesting. And also, like, who is the mystery number that texted Oliver and Charles to get out of the building? Like, was it Cinda? Maybe Cinda killed Bunny for a new podcast. I don't know. There's just so many things left with this cliffhanger that I feel like will be picked up in season 2. I'm just not sure how the formatting of season 2 is going to look. I don't know. Overall, I really enjoyed the show. Like, I'm so happy there's a second season. But this show wasn't perfect. Like I said, the whole Jan killing Tim, like, it's like, yeah, in theory it made sense, but, like, there's more to it, I think. Like, there has to be more to it. And, yeah, even though, like, Amy Ryan, like, acted the heck out of those scenes, I think it almost made more sense in many ways to have the Demuses be the killer. I think, their motive was there, while also, like, them, being, the deli kings or whatever. Like, it seems like they would have a little bit more pull, maybe. And also, like, they're not just deli kings, like, they're literally, like, jewelry smugglers and stuff like that. Like, so, like, they gotta have pull somewhere. And I just think that maybe it would have made more sense if we just left it at the Demuses being the killer. But I don't know. Let me know. What did you think of Only Murders in the Building? Are you excited for season 2? What do you hope happens in season 2? Any guesses as to who murdered Bunny? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you like this video, leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you can be notified when I upload my latest videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in another video. Bye, guys!